Hey guys, Tarke here, and this is a video not talk about what I predict they will change in 3.15 balance-wise, but these are balance changes I would find most interesting for my playstyle and for players like me. I'm not saying they should do this, just putting out a different kind of 3.15 balance video. So, for me, PoE is the most interesting when the meta gets a real shake-up, and there are a few different ways to shake the meta up. What tends to happen though, this is like the generic Path of Exile set of patch notes. The top like 2 or 3 builds get nerfed a little bit. They're still like the top 2 or 3 builds anyway. Maybe 1 or 2 things gets buffed, but generally nothing that significant. Every couple of years though, GG's kind of like, and then we just cut everything in half. And those times can be either very bad because they only hit half of the good things, or they can be very interesting. So I think if GGG were to just like kill all defense, just kill everything that's strong from a defensive point of view, and buffed white monsters, then Path of Exile would be a much more interesting video game for a couple of leagues. So, Fortify, I've never liked Fortify. I've always thought Fortify has been a problem. Fortify, with all the increased Fortify effect I've gotten recently, it's just too generically powerful. You can fit it on basically anything. Yeah, I'd hit the Fortifies. Mind Over Matter Agnostic Archmage. Mind Over Matter builds I really like. Mind Over Matter Agnostic builds I really like. Mind Over Matter Agnostic Archmage builds I really like. The problem is there's like too much power in this package, and just like individually, these are all pretty like interesting, but I feel like there's just too much synergy by putting all of these mechanics together. So I feel like somewhere something should be here. For example, there are quite a few abilities that can't run Archmage because they are, for example, on a trap, or like they're on a totem, and just like a Mind Over Matter or like Righteous Fire or something like that. Like just like Mind Over Matter by itself, I think is very cool and very interesting. Agnostic just by itself is very cool, very interesting, but there's just too much synergy altogether. So I would like to see something get hit in this package. And I feel like the best thing would probably be to hit Agnostic Recovery slightly, and to hit Archmage numbers slightly. Don't kill the package. Another thing they could do is maybe just like nerf the outlier mana nodes that are a bit too strong. But I feel like this is just too powerful. And the other issue with this is because this is such a powerful package where you just pick up mana nodes for all your damage and all your defense, it means that you're very much open to utilize the entire skill tree. Which sounds, oh, that sounds really interesting, Tarke, because you can use the entire skill tree to make these really interesting trees. Yes, but then you end up just shoving like Wind Dancer Acro on everything, or just going crazy on Timeless Jewels. And like that's when you then start to see like, oh, this is insert Ranger 297 with the Mind Over Matter package. This is Scion 297 with the insert mana package. So yeah, hit something somewhere. Dodge Wind Dancer Raider. Acro, Phase Acro, I think is fine by itself. Wind Dancer, I think, is fine by itself. I think Wind Dancer being as close to Acro Phase Acro and being next to Thick Skin, and with Thick Skin having the chance to avoid ailments and the strength that comes from getting 100% chance to avoid ailments, I feel like there's an issue there. I much preferred Wind Dancer when it used to be on a Timeless Jewel. Also, just as an aside, I think Timeless Jewels should be made more interesting again. I understand why GGG wanted to take most of these strong defensive options off of Timeless Jewels and onto items and onto the skill tree. The thing is that if you have a build that is dependent on one specific keynode to function, and then you shove it on a Timeless Jewel, you can have an issue, especially when it's the defensive node. When it's like your build feels terrible, but then when you get this one defensive node, oh, now this works, gating that behind such a long journey can be a real problem. So I can understand them not wanting to put defensive ones back onto Timeless Jewels, but I do think making Timeless Jewels more attractive and more interesting in would be good. That being said, I think I would actually prefer Wind Dance if it was shoved back on a Timeless Jewel or moved around. I think that the strength of the Wind Dance Acro Phase Acro combo just means that any build that would previously like maybe take Acro Phase Acro then shoot up now always comes down. And then this is just a part of the skill tree which is always locked in, and then you always end up going into Ranger, or you end up playing a bunch of Rangers. And yeah, I don't think necessarily that any individual one of these is too strong, kind of like the Mind Over Matter Agnostic Archmage thing, but I feel like there's too much synergy, and it's in too neat of a package. Like, they're all just too close to each other. Yeah. Shoving Wind Dance up near Shadow potentially could be a bit more interesting. But anyway. Block Recovery. Block Recovery should have been nerfed ages ago. I was very annoyed when they nerfed Glancing Blows and didn't nerf Block Recovery, because there's a bunch of very interesting staff Glancing Blows builds which weren't too powerful, which were cool, they were kind of quirky, and they got hit. I would buff Glancing Blows back up to what it used to be, and I would pretty much delete Block Recovery. I think it's fine having it on like the Surrender Shield, or having it maybe as like a tier 0 mod. But yeah, bring Block Recovery all the way down, or remove it, or make it specific to certain uniques, or I don't know, kill Block Recovery. Leech. There's just too many ways to like cheat Leech these days. Leech has always kind of been an issue in Path of Exile, and you'll notice that with most of these, the issue is kind of just automated defense that plays the game for you. You're not taking an active role in it. So with Leech, there's lots of stuff now where you can be like leeching life, leeching energy shield, and I feel like the whole leeching life, leeching energy shield thing is kind of just too dominant. So either nerf the numbers significantly, give it more of a downside, or maybe even remove the mechanic. I don't think they would remove the mechanic, but I think having more of a downside attached to it would be important. Buffing white monsters. I think buffing white monsters is just something that would be just good for the game generally, and something that Path of Exile will do at some point soon, TM. I think doing it alongside a massive defensive nerf would be very interesting there, because if it's something like, okay, how do I build my characters, and then, oh, I actually need to fight enemies? Because that's the problem. If you just do like a blanket nerf of all the defenses, well, then people will just be like, okay, fine, we'll just build more glass cannon and we'll just kill stuff before they can touch us. But if you were to then like make players actually have to engage with the enemies they're fighting, and then they made the defenses less just like all-consuming, then that'd suddenly be pretty interesting. Inquisitor regen. I feel like if these changes were to happen, Inquisitor regen probably has to be just brought down a little bit, because otherwise everyone would just be like, okay, that's fine, we do this now. Yeah. Again, not saying they should do that. I'm just saying that if they were to do these changes, I would have a very interesting 315. I would suddenly find Path of Exile a lot more interesting. Another way of going about this would also be to introduce a bunch of new defensive options, either alongside nerfs or just introduce them. But yeah, the other issue you have with this is, for this to work, you kind of need to hit everything at once. Like, for example, if GGG was to just hit one of these things, then players would be like, okay, fine, we now just play these instead. That's what tends to happen a lot of the time with big sweeping buffs or big sweeping nerfs, is if you only hit one or two problem things, then you just play the next best thing. So you either need to buff everything or nerf everything. Just hitting one thing or another thing doesn't make for a very interesting metagame. And the other thing that's worth considering, GGG and Path of Exile, they don't care about balance. They're not trying to make a balanced game. They're trying to make an interesting game, and they try and force meta shifts. So if your goal would be to force a meta shift, I think this would definitely force some metas. But yeah, obviously, you know, alongside this, hit insert powerful skill here. But I don't know. These are things I think would be cool. If you were to say Tarke, name skills that should be nerfed: slams, blade skills, LE hit, essence drain, vortex, chill, self chill should also probably be hit. Golem elementalist package, I've never been a massive fan of. I think it's weird that you have only really one ascendancy which is so gear dependent, and every single elementalist wants the exact same package of items. I think that's kind of wonky. I'm probably missing a lot. Summoners could probably be hit for like the millionth time. But yeah, I don't know. I'm Tarke. What changes would you find most interesting? Again, not what would you predict. What would you find most interesting? Have a good day. Bye-bye.